My name is Eric Van Horn. I bought my first franchise in my 20s, and since then, I've owned 6 brands with 25 stores in 8 states. I've also helped 1,000 people find the right franchise for them. People like us who are not cut out for the 9 to 5 and like to work smarter, not harder. How do we find the right franchise, buy it, grow it, sell it, and how do we do it in a way to own the business without it owning us? Those are the questions, and I'm on a mission to give you the answers. Welcome to Franchise Secrets. Welcome to the Franchise Secrets podcast with your host, Eric Van Horn, here with today's guest, Joshua B. Lee. Joshua is someone that I met earlier this year after COVID. He was giving some value in a Front Row Dads group that I'm a part of, and he's a part of. And I learned so much in that, 30 to 45 minutes where he was just teaching. And it's stuff that I hadn't heard before. And some of it validated things that I did hear before, but it had weight behind it because it came from an authority that I trusted. And so fast forward, I ended up buying one of his things. He's coached me on LinkedIn. I thought, you know what, if I can get him to come onto the podcast and into this Facebook group to deliver some value to all these people in franchising, it would be fantastic. He agreed happily, and here we are. So welcome.
Eric, appreciate that, man. No, excited to be here. Like you said, you and I met in Front Row Dads, and it's all about being able to make this world better, change it for the better, not only for our kids, but for our kids' kids. And I mean, everything that you and I do from you doing, working on this podcast, being able to share valuable information. I mean, I do the same thing on LinkedIn. So, I mean, however we can give value today, I want to make sure that we dive in as deep as possible.
Well, let's do it quick, because if you weren't watching on Facebook Live, you realize like I went for like 5 minutes without hitting record. So we are starting over. So it's going to be really good now. Give the audience a little bit of your background, like before
Yeah.
LinkedIn, how you got involved with LinkedIn and became an authority on the subject.
I started my first company back in 2002, 2003. It was in the online ad space. We were just kind of going back in the wild, wild west. I mean, I was lucky, kind of like lucky and blessed, cursed, all the kind of things, to be able to have a company like MySpace be one of my first clients. We were doing arbitrage, lots of traffic, right? I mean, and that kind of pivoted me into starting multiple different companies in the online ad space. And that's kind of where I saw one of the biggest changes, right, Eric? I mean, it was like I managed personally like over $100 million. I've in advertising dollars. My companies have done over $300 million in advertising dollars spent, managing that. We've actually truly controlled over 35 trillion online impressions. And throughout that entire traffic world that I was in, that's all it was traffic. And I mean, that was the biggest shift. I said there had to be a better way. There had to be a different way. And I had a major shift in my life where I built all my companies originally because I could, because they made money. And I found myself, and this is why I love like Front Row Dads, what John built over there. I found myself in a world where I was hollow. I wasn't creating or doing anything, for my kids that I felt proud of. And I mean, at a certain point, like I would go in my office and stare at a wall for 8 hours a day. And my office, which used to have open doors, became closed, and it became a sanctuary and a coffin at the same time. And I knew I had to be able to change what I was doing. And that changed with the marriage, getting divorced, closing down 10 companies. At that time, I was running companies running from 6, 7, and 8 figures all at the same time, had a massive staff. And I wanted to kind of reset and say, where was I needed? What could I change? And the first thought was, one, I want to change how marketers market online. And because we were losing that human factor, and one of the biggest platforms was LinkedIn. I saw so many people just spamming and pitching and talking about themselves, and not a whole bunch of value, but just a whole bunch of opportunity to be able to create change. And that's kind of where LinkedIn kind of came in. And I started playing around with it, really kind of going in and saying, how would I want someone to talk to me? How would I want to be able to use the platform? And we kind of developed these different sorts of resources and started getting some massive clients as well. I mean, I've been blessed to be able to work with people like Dan Sullivan and John Maxwell, Jeff Walker, Lance Tyson, some big companies. We've done corporate trainings for like ADT, Gartner, Oracle. And, today I really get the opportunity to continue to share and be able to help people like yourself, use that platform to, educate, inspire, and draw people in rather than ever having to sell them.
Anyone out there who is on LinkedIn, you haven't cracked the code. Like this is something that you need to be listening to. If you feel like you haven't really done LinkedIn the right way, and you don't want to do it the way that everybody else is doing it. Because if you market the way everybody else is, you're just noise. You have to do
That's it.
something differently. If you've ever been able to receive those in the inboxes that are just spam, you just start deleting all that stuff. And that's all I would do. But I knew that LinkedIn was a powerful social channel that I wanted to be on and have a presence on and grow with. What are some simple things that people can do to beef up their LinkedIn, or if they felt like what I just described, they
Yeah,
just
man.
don't
I
know
mean,
where to
we all
go?
get it, right? I mean, you get sick of the noise that's in your mailbox, so you don't even sometimes you don't check it. The biggest thing that people don't realize, and like Eric, you're halfway through our 6 week masterclass right now, right? So we're gonna talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you've already heard, but I'm also gonna drop some other things that you and I are gonna, coming next week, we're really gonna dive into. So, you know, don't give the secrets away to the master class. Yeah. No, we really won't go in that I mean, that's why I have that, right? To be able to take that time because I can't go through all the things. I can't go, okay, I'm going to teach you everything you need to learn on LinkedIn in the next 40 minutes. It just, we'd be sitting here. I'm like, okay, cool. We could talk profiles, right? For an entire, and you've been on a call with me where I talked about your just LinkedIn profile for 45 minutes because that's where it starts. Most people build out their LinkedIn profile as, they're like, oh, it's my resume. Are you looking for a job? If you're not, it shouldn't be a resume. It should be a story, telling people who you are, and where you came from, and why you can help them now. You heard me say it too. Like people go in, they're like, they look at their, like, oh, well, these are the only jobs that pertain to what I do now. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, I mean, I've got worked at Chili's, as a server. People are like, why would you do that? Well, I didn't wake up and I wasn't born, into running a company. I started somewhere. Hell, actually, I started selling candy out of my locker as my first job. So, that's the big difference. And, really starting with that LinkedIn profile, making sure you've got a good picture, you've got the background, and then your title. Like if we're gonna go through one thing right now, and I mean we're gonna cover a lot, but your title is so key. Most people go podcaster, franchise owner, business owner, CEO, whatever it might be. That's great, but that's your title. And I get that that's what it says title, but this is your opportunity to really be more focused towards who you're serving. And I believe in the formula of I help X to achieve Y so they can do Z, where X is who you help so you can identify your target audience. You want to be able to tell the people that are not who you need to talk to, hey, I'm not talking to you. Y is what you do, right? This is what they hire you for as a service. But what they pay you for is the outcome Z. So I
Say
help
that
X.
last part again because
Yeah.
so many people, we're not in we're in the franchise community, not marketing community.
Right.
Marketing community would pick up on that right away,
Yeah.
but the franchise community, like what you just said, is going to be new to a lot of these people.
No. So I help X to achieve Y so they can do Z. So X is who you help. Y is what you do, right? If you're helping someone to be able to build a franchise or start a franchise, that's the opportunity. But what do they get from doing that, right? Are you giving them their life back? Are they giving them more freedom? Are you giving them opportunity to create change, to have more time with their family, right? That's why people buy and spend money. They
Yep.
hire you to do a job, but they give you their money because of the outcome of what you
Yep.
do.
They miss the outcome piece of it because they're
Yeah.
focused on the thing that they do, not the outcome.
Well, Eric, have you ever heard, and I know we've gone through it, have you and I ever had the conversation of where does money come from?
I don't think so.
All right. So I
Am I
love
going to
this.
get graded on this?
I wish I could take credit for it, but it's from a good friend of mine, Jesse Elder. He's here in Austin, Texas as well. Highly recommend looking him up. But we went through this whole piece of where does money come from? And most people you can go in through, if I ask, like, where does money come from? Well, it grows on trees. It comes from, hard work. If I pray and I really want it hard enough, I'll make money. It's not what it that's not where it is. And we could sit here and the Facebook group, right? Y'all can be dropping your answers in and being able to make those guesses. But truthfully, there's only one place that all money comes from: other people's bank accounts. They have to take it from their bank account and give it to you to put in your bank account. And then you could take it from your bank account. But that's just the way the world works. So how do you actually get them? How do you get that person? And notice I'm talking about a person, not a company, not anything else, because we want to talk to human beings. This is where most people lose sight of. How do you convince that human being to be able to move their money from their bank account to yours? And most people in this world make decisions emotionally.
Yep.
And that's that outcome.
Even if, yeah, and the outcomes emotional. That's the thing that you get from the thing that you do.
Yeah.
And most of us want to think we don't do things emotionally. We don't make decisions emotionally, but we really do, don't we?
We 100%. I mean, people truly make decisions. They love something or hate something in some form or fashion. They do not make a decision because they're indifferent. And so many people in this world are so scared to be different. They want to just kind of flow with everybody else. Well, if you're doing that on LinkedIn, you're going to be the same person that's pissing you off, right? So we have to be different. We have to be able to look. I mean, we're not even get to presidency. I mean, I'd be like, look, you can always go through and say who you like. It's, and that you will draw your audience in, and you will bring your haters in as well. And your people that really appreciate you will stand up for you.
Mm-hmm.
And these are those different pieces, but you've got to be able to evoke an emotion. And that's what will drive people to be able to want to work with you as a human being, because they know you're talking to them. So that's the first thing. And true LinkedIn influencer marketing and engagement marketing is your headline, first and foremost, that you've got to be able to change.
You just said something about engagement. So what's like, how do you measure success on LinkedIn? If you are starting to get success, if you're on the right track to success, what is it? Likes or
I don't even, I mean,
views?
likes and comments are great. That's where you want to be able to go into, right? Everyone views. Like if they're not taking a second to even like or comment on your post, don't even worry about it. But the average person gets less than 1% engagement. That's great. And, you and I are actually going to go into a really deep into this next week, but it's conversation that happens behind the scene. This is where the real opportunity happens. That's great. All I'm doing when I'm posting clear, consistent content on a regular basis, I'm doing that to be able to edify what I'm doing and give value, because I want to educate someone before they make a decision to work with me. If I sell someone, I have to keep selling them. And that's what everyone does on LinkedIn. They're constantly selling. Look, always be closing. I get it. I've watched Glengarry Glen Ross. I've done, I love all those movies, but in reality, people hate that. So that you have to be able to kind of adjust on what you're doing. And with me, I want to be able to make sure that I'm engaging and connecting on a different level. And that's having multiple conversations. And when your conversations and your message actually turn into real opportunity, that's what I measure success on. And to be able to do that, it's all around conditioning. So it's funny you and I are getting on this doing this podcast right now. As I told you, I actually, one of my podcasts just went live with friends of mine, Hustle and Flowchart, and they label me as the dopamine dealer of LinkedIn. Because that's truly what we're doing. And that's what people want, right? Everyone in this world posts online for one reason above all else. I don't care who you are. You can say it's the same kind of concept around like, where does money come from? We can say, I post for advocacy. I post to educate. Well, no, first and foremost, we post to get that hit of dopamine. We all love when we get that engagement, right? Someone likes or comments on it. We've been conditioned. If you've watched The Social Dilemma, like
Yep.
I'm like losing my mind. It's COVID and everything else. We're kind of losing where Christmas, I've got the holiday COVID, Christmas, everything mind right now. And, they talk in that movie, if you haven't watched it, it talks about how these social companies have been conditioning us for 10 years to be able to look for this dopamine. So why don't we understand that? Right? That's what they want to be able to do. So I said, look, we're human. I'm not going to worry about an algorithm. I want to worry about the human algorithm. And the human algorithm looks for those dopamine hits on a regular basis. So when someone looks at our profile, when someone engages on my content, one of the first things that we do and we teach all our clients to be able to do is to reach out to them and give them something that have never been given. And that one thing is appreciation. Eric, if you looked at my profile, I'm going to reach out and say, hey, Eric, man, I noticed you checked out my profile recently. Just want to take 2 seconds out and say thank you. Too often we don't appreciate this. I'd love to be able to connect with you and find out why you looked me up. Because if they looked at your profile, there's a reason for it. Even if they didn't send you a connection request, whatever it is, they were searching for something that you were related to. That's why, again, it starts with your profile, because the better your profile's beefed up, the more times people look for you and search for you based on keywords, then they come to your profile. Now we can actually reach out and start a conversation. Same thing as, a comment or a like. We reach out, hey, Eric, I saw you recently liked my post. Thank you. Right? I appreciate these small things. Like, in a world that we're in, I can't even say post COVID because we're still in it.
Yes, we are.
Pre-COVID, we didn't appreciate most things. I mean, you and I see it all the time with our kids, right? I mean, there's a lack of appreciation sometimes. You're like, wait a minute, like, I just gave you that, and it's like, what's next? I mean, I saw it during the holidays here, and it's like, this is something that I'm always constantly trying to teach my children. Like, there's next. It's appreciate what you have now, not what is still coming. And we don't appreciate most things. We do a lot more now. I appreciate the teachers that used to watch my kids for 8 hours a day. I appreciate being able to go to restaurants. I appreciate being able to travel, all these things that I just took for granted. So people have been conditioned to like, comment, and share posts and never be appreciated for doing it.
And same thing for recommendations. If you're giving like a recommendation for something, whether it's on LinkedIn or anything, people don't just like give true good testimonials,
No.
and it's the same thing. So if you want to get noticed, you do something like that. Give a recommendation or a testimonial out of the blue. That's they're not used to getting those types of things unless
Yeah.
they've been asked. But going back to that, so if someone liked your post, this is
Yeah.
easy. I mean, anybody can go on their profile now and see
Yeah.
somebody that liked that they don't know, or somebody that viewed their profile that didn't send them a connection request. Do you, and this isn't a software program that goes in and does that. This is
No.
somebody, whether it's you, probably
Me
to
or
be.
someone on my team, right? We're going through it's human, because this is the biggest thing. Like, on my, even as you see my name on here, it's Joshua B. Lee. On LinkedIn, it's Joshua B is my first name, last name is Lee. Because I want to know if someone is using automation going, hey, Joshua B, you just checked out I wanted to reach out to you personally. It's like, no, you didn't. You're scraping my name and you're trying to just play the numbers game. You're hoping that if I send out 1,000 invitations and I get one person to accept, you win. Well, no, you just pissed off 999 people.
Yep.
And so that's the way I look at it. So we're really going through, and I want them to understand, like, there's ways to get around it, Eric. And like, you and I are going to be talking about this again in the mastermind. But really, like, once you figure it out, like, if I've got 10 people that liked my post, right, or 15 people that looked at my profile, as long as we're changing, like, I can go through and have a snippet of information that says, hey, and then I just have to physically pull the Eric. I noticed you checked out my profile, and I copy paste, and I could do that again and just change the name. Now, one huge thing that we learned is we always want to speak conversationally, right? So if you're doing this, use your phone, record your messages, and then use that to be able to talk, because you don't want to speak at someone.
Say that again. What do you mean by that?
So most people speak at
Mhm.
other people when they're writing content, when they're reaching out to connect. It's always comes off as a pitch. And that's what I'm talking about, speaking at someone. But I always speak like this, like right now. Hey, Eric, man, we really enjoying the podcast. Like, that's how I would say. So at the same point, when I'm reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, it's, hey, Eric. Or if it's a woman, it's like, hi, Stephanie. And that's the one big thing we've learned over 5 years plus of being able to do this, with massive connections, massive opportunity created. Men, it's great to say hey. As a man to a woman, you don't want to hey at a woman. So just like in real life, and I'm not these things that I'm talking about, Eric, I mean, it's nothing different than what our mothers taught us how to treat other human beings, right? I'm just going a lot. Most of what we do is around the golden rules, how to treat it, how I want to be treated. And so that's what we're just doing it online. We've just forgotten how to be human online. And that's what we're trying to be able to teach people. So when you reach out, make it conversational. Hey, wanted to reach out, notice, saw. I've got one client that says aloha, right? Aloha, what's up? Whatever it might be, take your speech patterns and put those in there because that's how you want to be able to connect because they're going to see that you're a real person.
And that's the goal, is to start a conversation. The goal isn't to close a deal or to get them into your funnel or your pipeline or your whatever it is. The goal is to start a conversation to see where that goes, right?
Yeah, because that's an unexplored opportunity. And so we go through a whole piece, right? Once people connect, usually most people tend to pitch you. I love those guys, right? Like you connect, 2 seconds later, you get the pitch. You're like, great, I just got spammed. I feel slimy. Awesome. I go through delete. Anyone that cold pitches me, delete. If you send me a connection request on LinkedIn, which I highly push everyone to be able to do, send me a real message. Hit that little extra button that says personalized message and tell me, yeah, Eric's right. Josh's hair is crazy. Or, whatever it might be that you got some value from. And I heard you on the podcast. Because if I just get a blank connection request as well, I delete it because I'm not playing a numbers game. But these are those different pieces that once we connect, we don't pitch. I go through and I go through the same thing that my mom, as I said, taught me. If I connect with someone, I appreciate them. Next, I give a compliment. With me on LinkedIn, a compliment is an endorsement, right? So, like, I could be like, Eric, dude, love the background, man. I love all the different signs that are on there. Like, even if I didn't know Eric, I can give a compliment because people go, how can you endorse someone if you've never met them? We do it all the time. You say, oh, that's a great shirt, great paintings. I see the signs behind you. I love that, man. Even if you don't. So, it's the same thing on LinkedIn. We give an endorsement because I want them to show and I want to keep on giving, right? I want to start off the relationship with appreciating them, giving them a compliment. And then when people kind of go back in, LinkedIn makes it super easy. They go, hey, Eric, man, thank you so much for endorsing for podcasting, right? That's them starting the conversation. Changes the entire conversation because now they've reached out to you. You connected, left them alone. If they might have responded, you can have a conversation, but if they didn't, you endorse them, gave them a compliment, they reached out. Thank you for, hey, no problem. Again, this is where that conversational speak kind of comes in. Hey, no problem, Eric. You know, really quick while I have you, I can now ask a qualifying question. I can ask about them.
Mhm.
Again, I'm continuing to make the conversation about them. Hey, do you, so like one question that we have, and this is, I believe it's best to put around mindset, right? We did for like Dan Sullivan was, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur or a business owner with an entrepreneurial mindset? So like with franchise, on your side, you know this world better than me. So like if you were going to ask someone, like someone was interested in franchises, Eric, like, hey, great to, happy to do the endorsement. Quick question while I have you, what would give you enough information to provide value for them in the right fashion? Right? Do you have anything you could think of off the top of your head? Like,
So
do you,
value, so not the question, but value. Are
well,
you,
even the
or
question, right?
the
Like,
qualifying question is, I got a couple different hats I wear, but if someone's wanting to buy a franchise, the question is, are you ready now or are you going to be ready in a year from now? That's at the at the end of the day.
what if you don't know if they know that? How do you see if anyone's even interested in being able to do a franchise? Like, how would you ask them in a mindset question, right? Are you currently happy at your at your job? Are you looking for that escape to be able to control your future better?
Yeah, it's all
Right.
about future. With someone that's wanting to buy a franchise, it's all about
Right.
the future. Basically, are you wanting to control your future? Are you wanting
Right.
the freedom?
Right.
Are you
So do you
happy
feel
being stuck in
locked
corporate
down, right?
America?
So I could see that, right? Do you feel locked, like you're being locked in place, or you want to be able to take control of your future more for not only for yourself, but for your family and, for the future of your children, things like that. This gives you someone's mindset.
Or for
Mindset's
friend
better than do you have money or don't you? Right? Or
Yep.
that's a yes or no question. No, I don't, or yes, I do.
So
Right.
you don't want you want the mindset, not just a simple yes or no. And the other thing, that I, my LinkedIn right now says I help high perform. We're going to tweak this, I'm sure, but it's okay now. I help high performing franchisees connect in a community of like minded franchise owners so they can shortcut their path to scaling with multiple units or brands and selling at the highest multiple.
Yeah.
So, so if I'm looking, if I'm, if someone's listening to this and you get a connection request from me, one, it's me. Um, and if I'm starting a conversation, it's me starting a conversation. But a lot of people get into franchising. They think they can just do it. They get buy a franchise, and that's going to make them successful. The secret is, being around other like-minded franchisees across multiple brands. That's where success is. The top 10% hang out with the top 10%, and they
Right.
and they learn from each other. And that's the secret. Everyone thinks the secret is just buying a franchise. That just gets your foot in the door. So I'm going to work on that with people. I've been starting conversations with people, and
Yeah.
it's been fun. And I just enjoy getting to know people and having these conversations. But it's been amazing to see the response that I get back from people that are wanting more.
Right, because that's what the whole thing is. You're making it about them, right? I mean, being able to go through that process, and that's the link. Most people on LinkedIn make it about themselves and
Mhm.
what they can get from you rather than you giving in. So by appreciating, by complimenting, by asking questions about that person, I mean, you're feeding someone's, ego to a certain extent, going, wow, this person really, and we do because at the end of the day, once they answer the question, if they say that one way, I can't give unsolicited advice, right? I hate unsolicited advice. Like, oh yeah, you should do X. Like, I'm not going to get up here on a video and just start telling this is what you need to do. I'm giving everyone, what we do, and you can learn from that and be able to make your own adjustments. And there's certain pieces, right? So when I ask that question, they tell me what their mindset is, right? Oh, you know what? I really do would love to control my future more. Now I can provide value in a form like with our clients, like maybe it's a PDF that educates them more. Maybe it's a webinar that I can actually take them to, and again, then takes them and offers that. Or, wow, that's amazing. Eric, I'd love to learn more on your thought process around that. You have, 15 minutes to jump on a quick call and tell me more about what that means to you. Because now we're allowing them to have, to control the conversation. Yeah, loved it. I mean, sure, I'm happy to tell you. You want me to talk? You're not going to talk? Cool. Especially once you get someone on a phone call and they're like, "Yeah, Eric, man, this is what's going on." And I mean, it's pretty crazy. And da 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 da. Y'all just mad. At the end of that, after they're finished, they'll go. I mean, we've been conditioned, right? We're talking about human condition, the human algorithm. With any situation, when two people meet for the first time, one person starts off and introduces themselves. At the end, they go, well, man, I talked the whole time. What are you up to these days? You've now been invited in. They're actually listening to you. You can have a real conversation and they can actually be able to make that choice to be able to move forward with you or not with you. Because we all have these walls up, always worried someone's going to pitch, always worried someone's going to try and sell us. And that allows them to take down the wall and invite you in.
That's perfect. And let's dive into niching down,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of people, and we were talking about it a little bit earlier, people want as many, whatever it is. They did we naturally want to go broad. Like I want
Right.
business owners, or I want, or so I've niched down to I want franchisees who want to be in the top 10 or 20% to be in my mastermind.
And
Now,
see,
I
I
don't
love
want
that.
all franchisees. I
Yeah.
want those that, and they're not on the top right now because I wasn't the top when I first started. But there's a way that I got there, and that's the
Right.
way that I want to show them. So they at least have that desire. It means they are going to learn and they're going to be givers. And that's the type of people that franchisee that I want in my community.
Love it. Yeah. And I mean, that's so important, right? Because you're not going, is it someone that wants to become a franchisee? You're talking about like you already are. And you're pushing every single day because you have an aspiration of being somewhere. So you really target into those people because look, not everyone. I don't care who you are. We always hear, and you and I were talking about Clubhouse, and the
Hmm.
new app that's out right now. It's kind of taken over a little bit, but even on there, we were having a conversation on one of the groups I was with around, seven-figure businesses, seven-figure plus businesses. Well, everyone goes, "Oh, I want a seven-figure business." Why? Right? Why do you want an eight-figure business? Right? I've run both, and unless you have those are the byproduct of what you're doing. it will truly crush you as a human being for the most part. If you're trying to build a business to seven figures, then you're trying to have a life and do everything else. You lose yourself. I mean, I was going. I wrote my book "Balance is Bullshit" because I was trying to do this whole work life balance, and it was just there really is no work life balance. It's about life integration. And with that whole said, I mean, like you being able to find in and be able to dive in as I kind of go off these random topics.
This is good stuff. I love these topics, by the way. So
But it truly is. So like that's what I'm trying to get to is like you want to be able to have the right people in the right mindset because people that want to get there for the wrong reasons, you do not
Mhm.
want in your group. Just like you were
Yep.
saying, right? They want to get in the 10% because of a reason for a sense of community with those people to be able to continue to be able to go, not just because they can say, "Hey, look at me. I'm in the top 10%." They're never going to get there. And no matter how much training you're going to go through is not going to help them get there. So unlike Facebook or other platforms where you're going through to be able to do like your audience search, if you're doing advertising, you want to have as broad an audience as possible because you want to get as many eyeballs as possible. I use Sales Navigator, which is LinkedIn's CRM.
Mhm.
And what I'm trying to be able to do is I want to be able to niche that down to, am I talking to specifically CEOs in California that, that have a staff of 20 to 50, right? If that's who I want to be able to talk to, or if I want to talk to marketing directors that live in a zip code you can go down to, right? I mean, there's so many different ways to be able to go in, but I want that number to be a couple thousand, not a couple 100,000, not a million, because I don't have time. Like being human to a million people, you'll get there. It's going to take you a long time, but that's not using your time valuable enough. I mean, like your time is the one resource that you can never get back. And so you need to hold that with the highest regard. So how can you be able to target the right people that are actually going to connect with you, that align with you, and that you can go through? So that's what we use Sales Navigator to really find it and go through. It's $89 a month on LinkedIn. And I mean, truthfully, you'll hear me say this time and time again. If one client can't make you $89 a month, then your LinkedIn's not the platform you should be using. I mean, that's a clear distinction. So like if you're selling widgets for like $10, don't do it on
Mhm.
LinkedIn. You're just going to piss a lot of people off because you're going to have to mass market.
Well, that brings up a good point. Like, who is LinkedIn for and who is it not for? Because I can imagine as I'm thinking about all these different businesses that I've owned, I'm like, does it work in the tax business? Does it work in the fitness business? Does it work in, like what there's certain things that it probably doesn't work well. And for me right now, where I am, it works really well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, so answer that
It's funny. I've
question.
had clients in both those. So it's all how you actually connect with someone, right? And that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you're trying to sell, again, if you're trying to sell, you're an Amazon company trying to sell, I don't know what it is, school supplies. I would probably, this is unless you can be on LinkedIn, but if you're trying to sell person to person, you're not going to be, and I hate to use this word, it's B2C, business to
Mhm.
consumer. Because I don't believe there's a B2B or B2C. It's only H to H, human to human. But if you are a business trying to sell, you're not going to do that on there. But if if you sell school supplies, and you can sell to schools, there's a way now I can go through and I can target those schools, and I can actually then go in and find the people on LinkedIn that are principals, that are whatever, that whoever's making those buying decisions at those schools, and look, they're sharing as well. Everyone shares online. We talked about being those dopamine dealers. First and foremost, use LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You can actually see who's posted in the last 30 days within your niche that you're actually looking for. Once you define that, do what you want. Engage on their posts, like and comment on their posts, then reach out and say, Eric, man, I saw your post recently. Really love the value added on there. Love to be able to connect with you. Seems like we've got a lot of alignment. Boom, that's it. And now they kind of roll back in, endorse them, ask them a qualifying question. It kind of rolls all into our engagement funnel.
So if I have a brick and mortar yoga studio, which I
Yeah.
have, I'm not going to find customers out there, but I will find go to your school. There's going to be somebody at the school or somebody in a different company that is director of wellness or
Yeah.
something like that.
100%.
So you're not trying to get customers, but using this as a marketing
So
tool
you
to
you see the
find.
difference.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the piece, right? It's a one to many. It's, I had a friend of mine, a past client, he had a jujitsu studio here in Austin, right? And he's like, man, I got to be able to go in. How do I use LinkedIn? I said, well, you're looking at the wrong way. You're not going to get people to sign up for jujitsu by posting a whole bunch of content on LinkedIn or even doing ads on LinkedIn. But what you can do is locate the different apartment complexes, whatever it might be, businesses that have a lot of employees on there, and then connect with the business development people at those companies, build a relationship with them, and then that filters down. Now you're talking that one person that can connect you to 100, 200,
Mhm.
300 people at their location. And that's how you can use LinkedIn for those services. So it's all mindset shifts. And that's what I'm trying to get people to understand. Like what I do, like people are like, oh, Josh, you're the LinkedIn expert. I'm more like the human algorithm, I hate to use the word expert, but I mean that's what I'm looking at, right? Like, how
Dopamine
do we
dealer.
become human online again? Because we've lost that thought. And how do we actually position that we're actually talking to someone, not selling someone? Because it's exhausting trying to sell all the time.
I know. And when you're selling, you're pitching, and when you're pitching, people sit with their arms crossed. Their arms are crossed. They're not listening. They don't want to hear that. But if you're human to human
Yeah.
conversation, you're hearing things differently. Painting business. Let's say you are into home painting. How can a home painter, someone that owns a home painting business, use LinkedIn?
So see, I love it. Eric's on. Okay, I'm gonna test Josh. I'm gonna put businesses up there and see if he can kind of roll with it.
I
No,
got a list of 500, so we'll just keep going.
I love it, man. Now, so if I was in the home painting business, I mean, this is again, I would look at not even. I'd actually look for builders,
Hmm.
right? I mean, look, you can go through and you can kind of people go through, but I want to work with the builders. So the builders are gonna be on LinkedIn. And if have that kind of company, do you have someone that actually is doing this for your company right now? Are you outsourcing? Do you build in? That's the kind of way that I would look at it because now home builders, they're building a whole bunch. They're going to bring you in and they're probably always looking for the next best thing. I mean,
Hmm.
it happens in that industry in the construction side. So they're like, oh, where can I save? Who can I bring better in? That's one way to do it. I had a client of mine that she did all the design for painting of the inside of corporate buildings, right? So she didn't go in and she did murals, really revamped the entire, building. So like when you looked at the walls brought you in. And so she's like, man, I'm trying to talk to all these individual companies at each one of these office buildings. And I said, no, you talk to the office person that runs the office building. That filters down because when you become the expert, then you're adding value to them that they can provide to their clients. Now you become the person that you're not doing the work. You're getting warm introductions. And so that's kind of how I would look at it if I was in that side.
I like warm introductions, and and just a little bit to add, and we're gonna wrap things up.
Yeah,
If you are looking at the home building space, it's easy to start thinking, I want the biggest home builders out there. And with them, be curious. Find out, use that as, reconnaissance to find out what they're
100%.
doing, why they're using it, but really go after the new people that aren't married to their painter that have, or then go into the same thing and do it with real estate agents.
And they're probably posting and commenting even more than the average person. I mean,
Yeah.
and they're getting like the average person gets less than 1% engagement. So when you become that person that engages on their content,
Yep.
reaches out to them and to connect with them because of their content, you become a massively different connection.
And leave a thoughtful comment. Don't just like thumbs
Great,
up or
great
great,
post.
but leave a thoughtful, take a minute and leave a thoughtful comment. And I personally, when I see someone that leaves a thoughtful comment that I don't know, it's like a pattern interrupt. Like, whoa, who is this person that just commented? Because I'm
Yeah.
not used to it. And I go in and look at their stuff.
Yeah, and then that's one of like Gary V's biggest things is his $1.60. That's a lot. We've got our process to refine a little bit more, but like he's like, look, you need to go in and comment on I think it's 60 no 80 people a day, right? Comment on 80 posts a day because everyone has their own 2 cents. So give your $1.60 every day.
That's right.
I mean, look, and I mean, he's right. If you have someone to go through and be able to do that for you, I get it. I mean, but that's a lot of work to be able to do. The way we go through it and engaging on the right people's posts, don't just go in and just randomly post. But if you are going to post a comment, they're looking at it, especially on other influencers. If you add value to their posts, the people that are following them are looking for the people that are also adding value or understanding the post maybe in a different fashion than them. And they will follow you down the rabbit hole to your content, to your LinkedIn profile, and then allow you to be able to then go back into our engagement engine and reach out to anyone that engages on your content and it looks at your post. And it becomes a very, amazing process that just keeps on compounding on itself.
So you have a thing for the audience, and you can find it at franchisesecrets.com/LinkedIn, franchisesecrets.com/LinkedIn. And that's basically, it's kind of what I'm going through, right? I
Yeah.
mean, can you
It
tell?
is the master class. I mean, that we go through. And Eric, you see, I mean, like, this is one of the few things that in my company, like I do on a regular basis. Like I love the master classes because I don't want to just go, hey, I'm going to teach Eric, and then Eric's going to go in and teach my master class. Like we don't have the coaches in here. So like I'm actually really going in there every single, class and making sure that I can take questions on what if I'm a painter? And how do I actually get in LinkedIn? Because I've been doing this long enough and I want to make sure that it's not, we're not playing the telephone game, right? Like as kids, it's like, oh, I'm going to tell you a sentence and it keeps on going down the line and everything changes. So that's why I really appreciate the class. And that's why, we're offering it to your listeners right now as well.
Well, awesome, man. Any last bits of wisdom before I let you go?
Biggest thing is like, on LinkedIn, human will always prevail. You're never selling to a business. You're never selling to, a brand. You're always connecting and engaging and educating and inspiring and drawing in another human being. So that's the biggest thing. If you want to stand out, that's what you need to be able to do on the platform. Connect, engage, and just really have real conversations, and you will see success, and it's continued success that lasts a lifetime, that won't go away once the algorithm changes.
So good, man. Thanks for delivering such great value.
Yeah.
And I'll see you next time I'm in Austin, hopefully.
Hey, there we go. Anytime we'll do some volleyball with front row dads.
Roman and the crew. I love it. Take care. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Whether you're watching or listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to whatever channel you're listening on. If you want my help with anything from buying a franchise to franchising your business, please visit franchisesecrets.com.